I did not see the red flag.
Yeah.
No matter how big that flag was, I was just like, no, it's still green to me if you squint your eyes.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of You Up to My App. I'm still Erica Starr, and today I'm here with
Lui Nai.
And today we are talking about how she became the Lui Nai we all know and love. Her journey from, TikTok and COVID and all that mess to where she is now. And all the mental health challenges and things that come with that type of recognition, online persona, and just literally just living. So let's get started. So I want you to tell me about your start on TikTok, where that came from, how that started, and how you got to where you are right now.
To be honest, I feel like it all started in the midst of everyone trying to discover themselves during COVID. I think I was actually a part of that in the sense where, one day I got super bored and I was like, you know what, like I'm super tired of like all of us being locked down. And I was like, you know what, let me just go on social media or turn on my phone and just scream and shout just like everyone else. And all that screaming and shouting turned into funny videos, turned into comedy. I started incorporating my mom, my family, and I started getting great feedback, and I started getting, a bunch of comments, a bunch of reposts, and fast forward, we're here now today.
Cool. So you started off making people laugh.
Yeah.
When did you realize you had something to say through music?
That actually started, I want to say, around the same time. I just wasn't out about it in the sense where like I wasn't, sharing my music. I was just still trying to discover like, is music what I want to do? Like it's always been in me. I've always listened to, a lot of throwbacks, a lot of R&B, a lot of Sade, a lot of Mana, a lot of like Spanish, Latin rock bands. Shout out to my mom. And then one day I was like, you know what? Like I was kind of going through something emotionally. And I think it might have been a relationship that I went through that, didn't turn out the way I was expecting to. And a lot of healing, a lot of, just a lot of, I'm freezing up.
You're good. We keep
just
going.
a lot of, just like self-reflecting on like, things I could have done better. And long story short, I kind of just put all those emotions into the music, and I started just trying to take it more serious, and then it took me to where I am today.
So for how long were you making music before you went public with it?
To be honest, about a year. Honestly,
okay.
I think it only took about a year for me to be like, you know what, like all these emotions that I'm feeling, I'm not the only one that's going through this. So I feel like it took about a year. And then I was like, you know what, let me just put the music out there, see what happens. And it took me a different route. You know, I got a lot of great feedback and I didn't think it was going to turn out the way that it did.
Yeah, I was wondering, did your following from when you started making like the funny videos, did they continue to follow you after you started making music, or did you build a whole new crowd once the music started?
You know what I love about my followers and my support system on social media is the fact that they still rock with me. Even though I was like posting funny videos, they kind of didn't understand what I was doing with the music thing. I think they still took that as a joke for a certain point. They were like, is she just joking? But they kind of just stood, the followers that ended up unfollowing me or kind of just didn't stick around weren't true, genuine, supporters, I guess, of me.
Yeah.
And those who stood are still with me today, which I'm super grateful for. And yeah, it's been a great turnout.
Yeah, I think that that's something really important on social media, where it's like people always have this fear of like, what if I rebrand? What if I change things up? And it's like, for as long as you're you, that shows in everything you do. Like, let's say, I know there are people who like started off doing music and they started making like cooking videos and stuff, but they're still them. And whatever personality was behind, their initial art, it just transfers over. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, you liked my music, but I cook with the same pizzazz. I got the same editing style. Like all that stuff is still the same. So I think that that's a really important note when it comes to just your whole thing of like staying true to yourself and just being you all the time, because your posts were very like outlandish, out there, super like, I don't know. It's nothing that I would have the balls to post, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like your music shows that too. Your video, like your music videos and all that. It's like, no, this is me. Take it or leave it, you know?
Yeah.
So with that, I just wondered, like, do you ever feel the need to like completely define yourself or like confine yourself at all to any type of descriptions or boxes, for lack of better wording, because people, you know, maybe they want one type of thing from you or they expect something from you?
I feel like being that my mom has always accepted me for who I was, always I always like turn back and be like, I'm so grateful to have my mom as my biggest support system because I never cared about anything else. You know, so if my mom accepts me and my family accepts me for who I am, then I don't care about the world. I don't care what's on the outside. I don't care who's on the outside looking in. You know, so that I feel like that always gave me the confidence to just like be like, so yada 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 today, and I don't really care what you think, but I'm gonna say how I feel, and I know everyone else feels the same way.
Yeah.
And I kind of just like try to, you know, like sprinkle it with a little joke to try to make better light of it because again, we were going through, you know, COVID and, you know, unfortunately people were, you know, dying and things of that nature and weren't healthy. And I feel like that's just something that like wasn't easy to deal with and a lot of people were experiencing for the first time. So I was trying to just like trying to make light of like something so negative and dark and unfortunate.
Yeah.
And trying to make people feel a little better about themselves in a sense, even though like all that was going on in the world, like us humans, we were dealing with like anxiety and depression and we've never been, you know, isolated from the world and our friends and our family and our loved ones. And I was like, you know what, like if we're all going to be stuck in the house together, let's all be stuck together.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I think something that you pointed out, which is something that like I resonated with heavily, where it's like, you know, if the people within your family or the people who you care about like aren't judging you and they have nothing but amazing things to say about you and towards you and to you, then it's like, who cares what anybody else thinks? Like that's something that, you know, people have told me like, oh, you have like such an I don't give a fuck attitude. And it's like, it's not that I don't care, I don't give a fuck. I'm not apathetic at all. It's literally just like the people who love me and who I, you know, love back. Like that sounded so like kindergarten. But the people who, you know, there's that trust and love with who matter in my life. Like for as long as they accept me and for as long as like not only accept me, but like embrace me. I think that's what it is. I think being embraced by those types of people, that is one of the most important things because no one else means anything. People are going to judge regardless. Right. You could do the right thing, they're still going to judge. Do the wrong thing, same amount of judgment. Right. There's no difference.
I mean, don't get me wrong. My family's not perfect. Like, I have family members, they be like, because I am also Dominican. So they be like, I don't know about that. You know, like, we don't think you're that funny. You know, we just think que tú jode mucho. And stop going on social media and tweaking out. And I just be like, honestly, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to talk about that. You know, tomorrow I'm going to talk about you. Like my aunt, my uncles, you know, like I really don't care. I just genuinely didn't care. You know, and it's like my mom's not going to be like, oh, don't post on social media. Like she didn't care either. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? She knows that she raised me to love others, you know, and be genuine and be a human at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter if my personality is all wild and loud. As long as you're treating others with love and care and you're being genuine, then she doesn't care what I do and how I do it.
Because even with that, they still love you.
Exactly.
They could be like, but they're like, it is what it is. That's family. Like,
exactly. So that's what I mean by, you know, being accepted, you know, for who I am in that sense.
No, I definitely get that because I know my dad watches my episodes and he's like, you put a lot out there. And I'm like, yeah, but I like doing that. He's like, that's fine. I wouldn't.
Right. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, Dad.
So that I 100% get. I think that's huge when you want to be like this very eccentric, just you, honestly. Like everyone's different. I think that once you embrace all the parts that make you quirky, make you different, make you colorful, make you bright, it's like, that's just me.
Right. So, I feel like once I started accepting who I was, and again, I've always been like that since high school, like all crazy, loud, outspoken, you know, had no filter. But as I got older, obviously, you know, I became more mature, but I've realized like that's just still my personality, just more mature.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a misconception that like, you know, like being that version of yourself in high school has to like disappear once you become like an adult and stuff. And I think that no matter what, there's always the parts of you that are just the core of who you are, that no matter what, you have who you are and, you know, whatever that may however which way that manifested itself when you were younger, you still have those parts of you when you're older. You just use them differently, you know?
Right.
That fun and free kid is the, spontaneous, has their shit together adult, but like, has enough money aside to, hey, let's go skydiving today type of thing, you know? Like,
right. I still got to cross that off the bucket list too. Still.
Yeah. No,
I would
same.
love to go skydiving. I'm just so terrified.
You scared of heights?
Not really. But that's like super high. That's like high. That's like higher than the roller coaster.
Okay, I think my fear is like they forget to pull the parachute type of thing.
Right, that's like biggest fear.
Yeah, okay, I get that. I mean, for me, I'm an adrenaline junkie, 100%.
Yeah, me too, but like to a certain extent, I think.
You need more. You always need more adrenaline. Like I don't do drugs, but I do roller coasters.
Right, literally.
Okay, so okay, what else do we have here? So. We spoke about just, being loved and accepted. And I think that all that love and stuff that you've received from your family and all that, just acceptance overall has translated into the way that you treat others, because I know that you have called yourself a healer. So I want you to elaborate on what that means to you. How do you believe that you heal people through your actions, your music, your videos, and why do you take pride in being that? Because for some people, they say, it's exhausting and it takes a lot out of me and you can't pour from an empty cup. But the last time I spoke to you, it felt like you took so much pride in that and you almost want to go out of your way to be that for people. So I just want you to let me know more about that.
So I take pride in being a healer because, and in a way, so during COVID or whatever the case may be, like everything was going down or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, I'm like, you know what? Like, what are ways to make not only myself feel better, but other people feel better, like in my house, my friends that are always tuned in and watching, my content. I was like, you know what? Like, again, I've always been this silly kid, funny kid, comedic girl or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, you know what? Like, let's see what I could do. So then whatever, fast forward, started being funny. And like, I started getting such positive feedback from the world and like from my audience, from people, started with my friends. And then like, as my videos went viral, it started from like people that I didn't know. And it was just such positive messages like, hey, I woke up today, your motivational messages decided to, like help me wake up today. I applied to this job and I got this job just because your motivational message and because of your jokes, and you made me feel good about myself. You helped me get out of bed today. And it's just like, I was like, wow, like I never even thought that I was capable of doing that through this like 4-inch screen on, these devices or whatever, like how much I was, impacting the people, my audience. And it just started making me feel so good about myself. And I'm like, you know what, like I'm actually going to start doing this every single day. I have nothing else to do, So I was like, why not? And as time went on and, my comedy started progressing, my content started progressing, my views started progressing, I was just like, wow, like I can actually do this full term. And that's what I started thinking. I'm like, okay, cool. So like, I feel like I'm healing people through my comedy and my motivational messages. And then, transitioning into the music, I started putting out the things that I've really started dealing with, like the anxiety, and I wasn't sharing it into I wasn't sharing it with the world. And then I started incorporating it with my music. And then from there, that's when I started releasing my music, and people were like, wow, like this also resonates. Yeah. So I was like, wow, because that resonates, I can, start healing people through my music as well.
No, and I think that's I think it's really nice that you took the angle of like, oh, people really like this, because you took whatever you were receiving from people and you gave it back to them by, doing more and just, wanting to be that positive light and just putting more emphasis on being that for people. And I feel like not a lot, but there are bad people out there who like, they would get that and they would get super like, oh, I'm the shit. Like, and they would just like, their head would get way too big. And I think that the way that you took it and just kind of like, added it to everything that you do afterwards, I think that that's something to admire. Because
thank you.
Because even then, like, I think that when you're online and you're doing these things and, you're making funny videos and you're making music, it's like, to you, because this is just something you like to do, it's like, oh, it's just, funny videos and music. Like, that's what it is,
That's
and
literally
it's like,
what it was to me.
Yeah, it's like, this is what I like to do, and that's that. And, I had a similar situation myself where it's like, I do this podcast and generally, yes, I like talking about growth and, all the things that come with being a 20-something-year-old and just, letting people peek into our minds and just seeing what we think and how we feel. But then, I hear from some people that literally just seeing that I'm posting first thing in the morning every day, they're like, you know what, I got to get up and do something because this girl is working and she's doing this and nobody's telling her to. And for me, I have low expectations for society as a whole because I'm just like, I think, I just think they see the videos and they're like, okay, funny, like, or, not like, whatever, or send a mean comment. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
But I don't think anyone's thinking about the behind the scenes of like, oh shit, like she has a 9 to 5 and then she's doing this and she's posting all the time and she doesn't have a boss. Like she's her own boss. She's doing everything. Like I never think that people think that deeply. And I think that once you start seeing that your audience starts including the people who, like, for lack of better wording, give a fuck, it's almost like, oh, okay. Like, and it just reinvigorates you. And you're just like, okay, let me keep going. Because there are people who see more than just, the surface level stuff online.
Right, I agree.
So I think that's just like an interesting part of the creative process that you don't see until you keep going.
Right.
Like you have to work so long without recognition before people start, caring enough to speak to you. Because one thing that I think is the word prominent? It's just like when you're an online personality, that's all you are to people. You're not a human being. Right. So people don't think to send a DM. They don't think to like speak to the person, or they don't think that you're going to respond. Right. Like nobody wants to do that. And I think that showing the human side of who you are behind what others may call a facade, but it's literally just an exaggerated version of yourself. You're literally just emphasizing the parts of you that make you this person.
Right. And it's funny you say that. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It's funny you say that. I would literally put my camera up and I used to be like, in my hair, not even done. Mm-hmm. Possibly I just brushed my teeth. I just woke up. Hair not even done. In boxers, T-shirts, no bra. Yeah. Just straight raw. Nip. And I'm like, and I'm literally telling people, I'm like, let's go, get up. You know what I mean? Just trying to like show everyone that I'm still human. And I will literally be like, look at me. Like, I am literally a mirror of you right now, So, like, just me trying to keep it raw and authentic and just showing whoever's on the other side of the camera watching that, like, it's possible to, live in the norm and, in your authentic self and still do the things that you do. Like, even working a 9 to 5, I was bartending, still bartending, still serving. And I would tell them, like, yo, like, I'm going into work. Hate my boss. Yeah. We're going to get it done though. Yeah. And I would show people like me in my outfit of, work. And I'm like, like, let's go, let's do it. We're still getting it done. And like, I always try to keep it authentic and raw as possible. No,
and I think that that's one thing that I will say, like, you're authentic and raw, but also specifically for like the Latin community, because this is going to sound like crazy. If you know, you know, all right? But like there's one video you had and like I think people noticed it that you saw like panties hanging in the background. But like I lived in a house my whole life and it's like you wash your panties when you shower and then you hang them up and when company comes over your grandma's like, all right, take it down. You don't want them to see that. Literally. And I saw that and I was like, I don't know, like it overall, yes, it's funny, but it's like, no, like that's what it is. That's what life is like. And it's nice to see that on social media because that's not something you typically see. Right. And I don't know, like stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, like like let's say, years from now and like your page is blowing up and stuff and, everyone still has access to these videos. It's like, no, like literally anyone can do this. Like you just have to put your mind to it. You have to, like want to be creative. You have to get through those tough days. And I think that, seeing that is just, like you said, it's a mirror. It's just like, it's something that it's also very niche because, like I said, people who aren't in the community, they're going to be like, oh, like that's messy or that's whatever. And it's like,
but that's why that's the thing. I didn't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like everyone could relate. And the messages that I was getting, people were like, girl, I feel you. My mom is the same way. My grandmother's the same way. My aunt, my uncle, my brother is the same way. Like I would really record my brother playing Xbox all day, yelling and screaming, terrorizing the house with his voice. And everyone's like, girl, like I agree. Like I have a brother, blah, 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 my mom, blah, 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 And I was just like, wow, like that is just so funny. Like everyone is literally going through the same thing. Like, no, it's just not even Latin, Spanish, community. It's the Caribbean community as well, you know, like just everyone, and even other people that are not part of the Caribbean community or whatever, like some of them still relate in certain aspects.
Yeah, of course.
And I just thought it was just so funny how the world is, and, you know, people. So
yeah, and I think like that's one of the few times that like I'm grateful for the way that social media works and all the people it can connect you to. Because I know like, of course, as of recently, we've heard so many things about how bad it is for you, and you know how like getting on social media at such a young age, like, you know, people getting on at like 11, 10 years old, how it messes with their self-esteem.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you go back to what social media was made for, like at the beginning, where it was like connecting people and just like understanding one another and just having everyone have this one hub where they can all communicate, it's like, okay, like this is nice. The togetherness is nice. And I think that for as long as you remain on like the more wholesome corners of the internet and like more like true and honest people on the internet, I think that that'll always be like protected and safe.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I feel like when Instagram first started, like I remember the first Instagram video I ever posted, like when you can post videos.
yeah.
And it was just me screaming and yelling about how we could post Instagram videos. And I just started shaking my ass and just like making funny faces while shaking my ass, holding the phone up, this up. And like, I'm like, oh my God, we could record video. Like, and just started tweaking. And that also went viral. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
You know, like I've always kept it natural and raw.
Yeah. And I think that it's funny too, because like when I was younger and like I had a flip phone, I would make silly videos literally just like that. Like I would just flip, because obviously you can't even see yourself before we had selfie video. And like my face is halfway off the camera. And I have so many videos. I'm running down the hallway. For no fucking reason.
I have a video like that, so I'm not even kidding.
Like they just for no reason. Or like even in high school, I had a YouTube account and like, you know, everybody started at high school, you know, and but I'll like cut the video randomly and I'll just start like dancing super weird, like on some SpongeBob shit. And like looking back, I'm like, why am I doing that? But that was me. I felt like, you know what? This video needs this. This is not going to go anywhere unless I have this.
Exactly.
So,
That's
I think,
so funny.
Yeah, I think just not thinking too much about what you post and like not even thinking too much, but don't think too. It's not that deep, you know?
Yeah, no, don't think too much. You know what I mean? Just post what you feel, post what your heart tells you to post, whether it doesn't make sense or not. If, you know, if that's what you're looking for, if that's the content and the people that you're trying to reach, you know, I don't feel like you should think that deep into it. If it makes you feel good and you feel like it's going to resonate with other people, and that's what your gut and your heart is telling you, then go for it.
Yeah.
You know?
So with that, what would you say is the key to staying consistent? Because it's like one thing I would say is like you're very real online. So
thank you.
How do you say consistent and real? Because I feel like that's something that I've attempted here and there, and it's hard because sometimes whatever is real is also very dark at the moment. You know?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and you post very regularly, and I'm like, there's no way at any point, you know, that there isn't a point where, you know, times aren't as happy-go-lucky as you're posting, but at the same time, you're not. Sometimes you won't post maybe like the brightest thing, but maybe you're posting something else that's relatable that isn't faking what you're feeling at the moment. So how do you stay consistent while still being honest and true to you?
I feel like the way I stay consistent while being honest and true is by honestly, I feel like the whole consistency posting didn't start. I didn't even understand what it meant at first. Like I was just posting just because like I just had so much thoughts and so many feelings, and I was just overwhelmed with everything. And I'm like, you know, I want to post it and I want to talk about it. I don't care if it's 100 videos. They're gonna hear me today. I have something to say.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, I kind of just like kept the ball rolling. You know, I'm not gonna lie, there's times where I'm just like, I don't want to post about anything. I don't feel anything. I can't think of anything. I'm just not thinking today. Like I gave up on thinking today.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hanging my thinking
I've thought enough.
I've thought enough.
Yeah. Just checking out right now.
Literally, I've thought enough. I thought all week, like I don't want to think anymore. You know, so like I'm gonna be honest. I go through that a lot now more than ever. You know, but at first, like, I was just, like, consistent on just saying how I felt and what I needed to say. But, you know, like, fast forward again, that was, like, 3 years ago. I feel like this last year, I kind of just been a little bit more, like, hesitant on the things that I want to post just because, like, I feel like I'm just so overwhelmed with, like, handling my music and handling my emotions and handling, like, what's good content, what's not good content. Because now, like, content is everything. Content wasn't everything a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago when I first started.
Yeah.
I feel like now everyone's like, what are you going to put out? What's the next move? what content can you have? How good is it? Is it going to go viral? Like back then I didn't think about what was viral and what was not viral. I was just posting and I was just letting, my audience, take it in and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But now it's just like everyone's so like, like what do you, and I'm just like, Jesus, I don't know. I'm just posting because I want to post because I think it's funny. Like I don't care if it's good or bad, but like now because of the things that I do, because I'm an artist full time now, I feel like I care more about the things that I put out. I want it to be more honest, more genuine, more raw. So I try not to think too much about it, but staying consistent, but also staying raw and authentic. It's like kind of just more difficult for me because like I try not to think too much about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I've noticed even now, like your page looks more polished than it did before.
Yes, exactly.
And then part of me was like, is she losing who she is? Or like, or are you trying to find like a happy medium between keeping the rawness and personality and like all the parts that make you you while also maintaining like, the things that you have to maintain when you're an artist, like just like looks and the way you dress and stuff. Like how do you plan on finding an in between? Because it's like from super, super raw, just waking up in the morning to like, this is me doing a show, dressed up, makeup, outfit, everything done. Like how do you plan to find that medium? Or have you even gotten there yet?
I feel like I've just been trying to figure out a balance, trying to understand like where can my comedy and who I was and who I still am meet Lui Nai, the artist, in the middle. So if I can incorporate a little bit of like funny comedy into my music videos, then it still shows that I'm still her because I am still her.
Yeah.
I just take my music a little more serious now. But I'm still funny, silly Lui Nai no matter what. So like cleaning my page up a little bit so that when people are coming into my page for the first time, they see artist first. And then once they dive into the content, they'll see, oh, but this artist has an amazing fucking personality. Like she's hilarious. Like what? Like not only she has great music, but she's also funny as shit. So that's how I want to keep it. I don't want them to see the comedy first and then the music, because then if they see the comedy first, I feel like they won't take me as serious.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's just anybody. Like even me, if I was to go onto someone's platform and I see a bunch of funny videos and they do music, I'm like, oh, they're mad funny. Oh, they do music. Cool. I want them to be like, wow, she does music.
And she's funny.
And she's funny.
Yeah.
Like her personality is freaking lit.
Yeah.
And like I want it to remain like that. Hence why the page has been cleaned up a little bit. But my videos are still there.
Yeah, they're definitely all there.
Yeah. They're all there. Yeah, the hair, crazy, freaking boxers, yelling and screaming. Yep, it's all there.
Okay, so then with all that, how do you balance personal growth and productivity? Like working on yourself, but also working really hard on maintaining like all the real stuff, like, like being an artist and work and literally just the things that help you pay your bills, while also maintaining just like personal growth. Because with what you do and with being an artist, there's a lot of, like you said, balance, because it's like, how raw do I get? And like how polished do I get, and like keeping up the page and keeping up your personal life. And then it's like, you have industry friends, and then you have, your people from back home friends. Like there's a lot always happening all the time. So how do you make sure that you're taking care of, your spirit, your mental health and all that, while also maintaining all these other things that from the outside look very, I don't want to use the word destructive, but less than, healing?
Yeah. To be honest, I feel like the way I maintain that is I always make sure to not get wrapped up in social media. Like gracefully, I can admit that I've never been someone that's been so caught up on social media where it's like, it's destroying my personality, or it's destroying me, or it's destroying my home and the things that I believe in. Like, thank God.
Yeah.
I've never been someone like that. So if I can put the phone down for a couple of days, which I have in the past, to just work on myself and my self-growth and self-healing and my journey. Yeah, I'm going to work on my germs while I'm at it. My self-journey. That just threw me off. That's hilarious. But I try to make sure to, just focus on my self-growth and my self-journey. There's been times where like I kind of like, just took some time off from social media, and people were like, hey, like my audience, like, where you been? How you doing? Are you okay? Like, where's the funny videos? Like, where's the music?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I publicly open up and I'm like, hey, like I've, been dealing with this. I've been dealing with anxiety. I've been dealing with, this journey that I want to focus on, and I want to, give it my all and put everything into myself and make sure I'm watering myself at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's
so if that means like doing yoga, going to the gym, going to therapy, which is very normal. Especially from the like a Latin community. I feel like we're always like a lot of like, not necessarily us,
Yeah.
but like our parents and our grandparents and just family prior. They try to say like, oh, therapy is no good for you, and that's just gonna damage you. And how do you?
It's a waste of money.
It's a waste of money. How do you talk to a stranger? You know what I mean? So like, luckily, our generation, we kind of shine the light on mental health and how important it is, and how anxiety is real, and how our parents had anxiety, but they didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And, they deal with their own mental issues, and they don't know how to deal with it, so they, lash out and take it out on us. But like, it's I think it's our responsibility. No, it's not our responsibility, but I take full responsibility on wanting to help my mom understand what it's like to deal with anxiety and what mental health is, because she wasn't educated on that, unfortunately, and neither was my grandmother. So if you do something wrong or you do something for yourself, like showing a little bit more love to yourself, and it's like you're not pouring the love into your family, but you're pouring it into yourself, they're probably like, that's weird, or you can't do that. You have to do this for us because of whatever reason.
Yeah.
And like setting boundaries, for example, they don't even know what that means. So having to educate my mom on things of that nature. Now she's more lenient. Now she understands why I'm doing music. Now she understands, like the whole content and like, taking the extra step to take care of myself mentally and my self-growth and my journey. She understands, and I'm very grateful for that, because I sought out the help,
And even I can relate to that, just because like my mom has always been open with mental health and just like what that means, and just making sure that your brain is in the right place. Right. And she may not have had like all the vocabulary words and stuff that we'd be using now.
Right.
But when I was younger, she used to tell me like, if like I was a geek in school, like I always wanted to go to school. So she knew that if I didn't want to go, that it was a problem. Like either I'm sick or like maybe there's something I'm not saying, and she just wants to make sure I'm okay. So like if I didn't want to go to school, she would just be like, "Are you, like, is everything all right? Like, is it a teacher?" Because immediately, at least for her, first she thinks of is like, is a teacher touching you? Like, do you have a certain teacher today?
Right.
And you don't want to have it because she's like, that's fine. You don't have to go today, type of thing.
That's good that she asked those questions, though. Yeah. That's awesome of her.
Because there was one time in middle school, I think it was like, I really hated Tuesdays because I had this one teacher, but the class was just really hard. Like, that was it. Like, I was just like, my brain works too hard on those days. And she thought that something else was happening because it was a new teacher in the school. So like, she was like, are you sure? I'm like, no, everything's fine. Like, for real. I just work so hard.
I'm tired of working so hard.
Yeah. Like a fucking nerd.
That's so funny.
But she was always very on top of those things. Like, she was just like, listen, if like you're not feeling okay and you just don't think you can get through the day without like, needing a nap or like just full on crashing, like you can stay home. And I did notice too, like when I was younger, like a lot younger before school, like you mentioned like when they lash out and stuff. And I was thinking about it, like back then, like parents didn't know to say like, I'm overstimulated, leave me alone.
Right.
Instead, it was, shut the fuck up.
Go over there, you got me tired. Me tienes harta mucho del diablo. I'm like, that means no today. Okay, got it.
Because like I said, I talk a lot now. I talked a lot back then. So
same.
I can understand, you're on your last straw, and this little fucker comes up to you. You're like, please leave me alone.
Literally.
But it's harder to like, it was harder for them to understand that for themselves, let alone translate it to a little kid.
Right.
So like even me, I feel like I've seen that growth with my own mother. And I don't know, I think it's just a nice thing to be able to, because like I didn't teach her a lot of things that she knows. Like she put in the work to understand those things herself and what that means. And even my dad, like he learned what like a narcissist is. And he was like, I think I'm a narcissist. And I said, wow, look at that. And I could have been like, no, you're not. But I was like, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Absolutely.
noticed.
Yeah, of course.
But because I know like a big argument is always like, oh, these kids, they want to put titles on everything, which I agree. Some people way too sensitive and like started like making up a whole bunch of subcategories and making up reasons to like not be a decent human being just because it's like, oh, well, this is my problem and that's it. It's different when you let the symptom own you. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's good that we have names and titles for these things, because the more that everyone understands, and even if, because for some people, like the older people, maybe they just need like just dictionary, definitions, and that's as far as they'll ever get to understanding, but at least someone can put like an umbrella term on it for older people to understand.
Right.
But yeah, I think that just older people understanding what any of our feelings mean is super, super important.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just get into this because I'm so mixy with like the idea of Gen Z and how we deal with gentle health. I mean, this gentle parenting. See, like stuff like gentle parenting.
We're gonna be a little gentle here.
Hold on, little side note. I don't fuck with gentle parenting. Like, like, I'm sorry, but when I was a kid, if you told me, please don't do that, that's not okay, I'm not responding. Yell at me, beat my ass like twice, and I'll stop. I promise.
I got beat for sure. I mean, look at me, I'm thriving.
Like, I don't think that's bad. Like a little pop out here and there isn't a problem.
A little pop out, right?
But I don't know. Some people beg to differ.
Right, a little pop. Yeah,
like I still get PTSD from like the bops on the mouth that my mom used to give me. That was the one. It offended me the most. Like you could hit me as a kid and I'd be like, ow, and cry for an hour. But like that's the one she does in public, the bop on the mouth. And I'm like, yo, there's people here. Like last time she did that to me, I think I was like 17. I was like,
funny.
yo, stop.
I'm grown.
Yeah. I'm about to graduate high school, man.
That's so funny.
And then she would look at me like, shut the fuck up. But yeah, that's where mental health takes a little bit of a turn for me. Okay. But back to identity and growth and all those bright things. What about you do you think people understand the least?
I feel like the strength it takes to have so much confidence and keep the energy and the creativity going and keeping it raw and authentic. I feel like a lot of people have a hard time understanding that, you know, because I feel like they see this girl and they're like, okay, like she's so raw and authentic, but what's the, you know what I mean? Like what's the, how do you get there and how? And like, that's all fake or whatever. But it's just like people don't understand how hard it is to keep it that way. You know, like people don't see what, you know, what's going on in the background. You know, how hard it is sometimes to wake up every day. You know, things I go through at home, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's, you know, like me and my family are going through something personal or like the loss of a family member, you know, because I've dealt with loss before in the past, and I feel like that's given me the strength that I have today. You know, losing a brother so close and so dear to me is what made me, you know, want to be so raw and authentic and keeping the positive and the motivational messages going, because like I went through such a great loss and it affected my mom and my family so dearly that I know not only was it was a loss, it kind of brought us together. And I hate that it took such an unfortunate event to bring us closer. We were already pretty close, but that just brought us a little bit more closer. And I feel like that there 10 years ago is how long it took me to get to where I am today, you know, with the whole motivational messages and, you know, trying to give myself a purpose in life and trying to make other people feel like they have a purpose in life.
Yeah.
You know, because like once you lose someone so dear to you, you're just like, what now?
Yeah.
You know, like what's the point of life and living and things of that nature? And then also going through a really tough relationship, you know, because of whatever reason, things didn't work out. That's when I was like, you know what, like a lot of people tend to be like, oh, well, it was their fault. Like that kind of opened up a different portal for me to be like, okay, like what about me? That, you know, why didn't it not work out? Like, what about me? How do I, you know, self-improve? And how do I become a better version of myself for the next time I have the opportunity to love again? Yeah. You know, I feel like that opened up a different realm for me. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, how can I be a better version of myself? You know, and then again, that leads back to the motivational messages, you know, like, how do you feel today? I woke up feeling like shit, or I woke up feeling great, and we're going to do this today and whatever. And it'll be obviously a little bit more not so polished. I am, you know, speaking about it now, but I was obviously, you know, for those who have seen my videos, I'm really like cutthroat about it. You know, I'm like, yo, no, fuck this. Like, this is what we're going to do today, or whatever the case may be. And I feel like that has led me to where I am today.
And something you mentioned, like people not understanding, like, you know, the confidence and just like you being as raw as you are. I think that something I've learned at least is when people don't understand those types of things about you. Like on my end, people say like, oh, like, how are you so positive all the time? Or they're like, oh, you're always smiling. And it's like, I feel like people who make those comments haven't dealt with something that affected everything that they do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, once you go through something that has shifted your whole view of life, you think of everything through that lens.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like for you, you know, you said you went through the loss, and I think that possibly like everything that you do, you do to honor him and to
Yeah. Literally.
just lead a life that he would want you to live, and also just in honor of him. And I think that a lot of people, like, either they don't take their own lives seriously enough to say like, I'm leading my life for this reason. And like you said, it's about purpose. And I think that without a purpose, like, I mean, it sounds redundant to say without a purpose, your life is meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that once people finally go through that one thing that really shapes their view on life, and for some people it's negative, they'll say like, oh, this person did me dirty, I'm going to be a terrible person. But for those people who are able to take a negative, turn into a positive, or, you know, maybe even experience something great and say, I want to keep living this life.
Right.
You know, like, I think that that's what it takes to just, I feel like that's when you mature. I think, like, as an adult, like, I think that that's as soon as you decide like this is, and of course this changes, you know, as you get older, but I think that once you find what that core thing is and the reason you want to keep going and why you want to live the way you want to live, I feel like that's one of the first hurdles of like entering adulthood and finding yourself and who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah, even like when you're finding purpose when it comes to people doing you dirty, I feel like things like that, like instead of like you saying like, oh, well, they did me dirty and I'm gonna do everyone else dirty, like, you know, learn from that. In the sense you're like, okay, cool, like you were such a great person to this person and they were treating you so horribly. Find ways to, you know, protect your energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like find ways to just put all that energy that you want to, or if it's negative energy that you want to put out to the world, think about it, put it back into yourself and turn it into a positive. You know what I mean? Like it's not easy. It's
easier said than done.
Right. Easier said than done. It sounds so easy rolling off my tongue, but it's just like I've been through things like that. You know what I mean? Not only through loss, but like people, you know, using me for certain things, or, you know, and me just like being so open and just like being so genuine and being loving towards people that I thought deserved it but didn't, you know, and felt like they were using me for other things. And they might have been, you know, they might have came across as like someone that's so great and honest and genuine. It's just like, and then their actions were otherwise. And I'm just like, wow, like I did not see the red flag.
Yeah.
No matter how big that flag was, I was just like, no, it's still green to me if you squint your eyes. There's a little green in the middle there. I just get a little closer.
Really fast.
It's still green. Like, and people are like, I'm just like, you know, and like I always find the good in people, and it's just like my mom was like, you have such an amazing heart. And she's like, it kills me because like you want to love so many people and you want to love the world, and it's just like, but you need to focus on yourself and you need to put that love into yourself. You know, and like lately that's what I've been working on.
Yeah.
You know, so when it comes to like, you know, someone doing you dirty, I feel like I can relate because like now I've just been putting the work into myself, and I've been trying to like not be so open and ready to love someone and love bomb them so immediately because like I just love to love. And, you know, like, and if I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to be like, oh my God, so this is this and this is that. And I think you're great. And I think this, and it's like, relax.
Yeah.
You can show them that you love them in other ways instead of like, you know, overpouring yourself and, you know, giving your energy and your all into someone that you don't even know if they deserve it yet. You know, and I've learned that the hard way recently, but it was such a great and amazing experience. But I've realized that like putting yourself first has to be the best and only way to really succeed in your journey personally.
Yeah. And I think that some people don't know how to take that advice because they hear, you know, self-love and pour into yourself. And then it turns into, oh, everything's about me and everything's for my gain and everyone else's loss. Like, I think that, you know, through self-love, you also learn like when you're doing too much for yourself to the point that you're ignoring everyone else. But I think that when it comes to self-love as a whole, I think people should make it, I don't want to say a priority, but like part of their routine to like love on yourself. And Like to some people it may seem vain because for some that means a spa day, and for some that means meditating, and for some that means like literally doing nothing. Everyone's versions of self-love, they're all different, and everyone has different love languages for self-love.
Right.
So I think that, you know, when it's not enough to tell someone like, oh, like you need to focus on you more, because then there are the toxic people who, you know, they get out of a relationship and they're like, it's time to focus on me. Fuck everybody else. You know, they start going to the gym and they make a page dedicated to something else.
Right.
You know,
gym, sleep, eat.
Like the rebrand, the fucking Ashton Hall waking up 4 in the morning.
You're scaring everybody, buddy. You're scaring us.
Yeah, you know. I think that all comes with the journey of like not knowing how to love yourself and not knowing what it means yet. Because
right.
you can even love yourself wrong. And it's just like, all right, like I feel like at a certain point in your life, you realize there's a lot more to figure out than you thought, because, you know, everyone goes through the whole, oh, I'm going to have it all figured out as soon as I turn 18. It's like,
I thought I was going to be pregnant by 22.
Really?
Like, I don't know what I was thinking as a child.
Oh, man. No, for me, I think I had said 25, and I'm 25 now. Yeah. And I'm like, I have a dog. I think that's good for now.
Cute dog, good dog.
Yeah, he looks just like his mama, you know? So,
and the shirt is fire.
Yep. For those, can you see on camera? No, you can't. It says, bitches love me.
And we sure do.
And it's very fitting. You don't even gotta try. But yeah. So,
but yeah, I wanted to piggyback off what you were saying, you know, making it a priority to self-love, you know, like her and I were talking off camera, and, you know, you were saying how you go to the gym, and, you know, you've been, you know, doing the podcast, all full hands on deck. And I think that's just an amazing thing, you know, like there's just different ways you can love yourself, and making it a priority. Like it can be a priority, you know, and I feel like that's just is such an amazing thing, because I tend to go to the gym sometimes when I do wake up. Majority of the time. I promise I do go. That doesn't sound so confident. But I do make it to the gym, and I feel like it's such a big thing for me mentally wise, like mental wise. You know, because it helps me clear my mind, and like I'm an early bird. You know, like I love to wake up early. I used to not love it. My body used to just wake up, and like now it's just like I feel like it's gonna sound weird, but I feel like the oxygen outside is different in the morning, and there's less people, and it's just like
I get that.
It's just a breath of fresh air for me. Hence why I love the mornings. So I feel like I can do, and I do get a lot done in the morning. So making it a priority to, you know, go to the gym and you know, take care of your routines and handle that is such a big thing for when it comes to like, you know, your journey and self-love and things of that nature.
Another thing too is just it's discipline, because sometimes like waking up early isn't easy when you're doing a bunch of other things. It's like, even for me, I can wake up early, but I'm like, I can't promise you I'll put on my clothes and make it outside without crust in my eyes and not brushing my teeth. Like there's just so much. Like it's the discipline. I think everything that we've mentioned, there are phases where doing what it is you want to do isn't fun, even though you want to do it. Like whether it's a passion, no matter how much you love it or how much you enjoy it, there are times that you're like, I don't want to do this today, even though like I know I wouldn't want to do anything else. But it's like, I can't. I don't have the energy and I'm tired. And you got to push through it. Even for me, that's going to the gym. There are days that I'm like, yo, my legs don't even want to move today. And it's leg day. And I'm like, fuck. Like I'm just
pasting at the gym, walking around.
Yeah. And then I make sure I get there, and then I try to not have any days that like, I try not to regret any days. I never want it to happen where I don't make it to the gym, and then an hour into what would have been my gym workout, and I'm home on the couch, and I'm like, you know what? Actually, I had a little burst of energy. Maybe if like I just walked to the gym, I would have gotten that sooner. So there are days even where I'll walk to the gym because my gym is 20 minutes from me, and then I'll start stretching and I realize I'm really out of it, and I'll go home and I'll be like, you know what? But at least I tried.
Yeah,
like,
at least you walked.
Yeah,
got your steps in.
No, like
that's gotta come with something.
Just making it there. Sometimes it's enough to get me motivated, and then other times I'm like, actually no, I actually feel worse. I don't even think I'm like, you know, I'm like lightheaded right now. Like what the fuck is happening?
I agree.
And I think that when it comes to caring for yourself, I think you need to push yourself to those limits to truly know when enough is enough. Because if you never get there, like you're never gonna get to your potential. Because what is it? How does it work? Because I learned this at the gym. I feel like your physical gives up before your mental. So it's like if you have the will and you really want to get something done, you'll get it done.
Right.
But, you know, like,
power of the mind.
Yeah.
You know, like I've realized how powerful our mind is. And it's, like I said, easier said than done. Like, yeah, I'm going to get it done. But it's just like, if you tell yourself that you're going to do it and you want to do it, no matter how tough it is, your mind is going to get accustomed to that talk. You know, like you having these self-talks for yourself. Because there's times where I'm like, dude, like my body doesn't, I don't want to do shit today. But my mind is like, girl, you know you didn't want to do shit yesterday and the day before yesterday. And there's times where I've walked to the gym and I'm just like, cool, I walked to the gym, now I'm walking back home. You know, like at least I got my steps in or I had to do whatever I needed to do. But, you know, like I feel like when you go through those times, those difficult and challenges of your life, I feel like you're also practicing and challenging your mindset and your mind. You know, like how mentally strong can you be? You know, and I feel like those small, you know, challenges and things that you go through, I feel like it's such a great thing for your growth again, going back to that, you know, and your self journey, because you're practicing, you know, how mentally strong you are. And I feel like the more you put your work into it, the better and the more outcome you get, you know.
Yeah. No, and honestly, people forget your brain is literally a muscle. Like you have to work it to the point of damn near exhaustion. But it's like, okay, the next time you do that same exact thing, it's going to be a piece of cake.
Right.
And it's because like anything that's new is going to be hard. It's going to be tough and it's going to suck. But I think that having the mindset going into it of like, this is not going to be fun. And being prepared for how long it takes to reach success is really important, because, you know, bringing it back to the gym example, I knew when I started at 85 pounds that it was going to take me a while to get to 150 pounds with muscle, you know, with a decent diet. Like, that shit's hard. That doesn't happen overnight, you know? And I knew going into it, like, okay, like, what progress do you want to see in a year? Right. Let's keep working toward that for a year. And if we can get there, then we can get anywhere. Because it just means that being consistent, once again, like that's the theme we keep coming back to, is like, that's what's key. You got to be consistent, because if not, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right. I've realized the more goals I cross out of my list, the higher my expectations are.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like I keep thinking, I'm like, damn, I don't see any movement or any growth, but it's just like, there is growth. You just don't see it because your expectations just keep getting higher and higher. And I'm just like, wow, like, you're right. It's me talking to myself. I'm like, you're right, Lui Nai. And I'm proud of you, girl. So keep going. Even though you feel like you don't see anything, you know, happening or whatever, like it is a slow process.
Yeah, and then you get that one DM, somebody reaching out because they saw something or whatever, and they're like, hey, like, let's collaborate, let's do this, let's do that. And you're like, oh, okay, so I'm thinking there's no movement, but clearly it moved far enough for the right person to see it.
I was just losing my mind. We're good.
Yeah, like
nobody panic. I'm okay.
Yeah, it takes those little wins to keep pushing you, because not gonna lie, there are times, like, for anybody who's, you know, a creative or on social media, like, you think that, like, okay, what am I doing this for? Like, or you hit like a stalemate where your views keep hitting the same numbers and you're like, do I suck? And then it's that thing of like, do I pivot, or do I keep doing what I'm doing because I just haven't hit the audience yet? Like,
you go through like self-deprivation.
Yeah, it's always a battle. Like, because sometimes even for me, like, I'll be ahead with podcasts and then I'm like, damn, like, I don't have any guests, or like I might have to repeat some of my friends who like do like my filler episodes and stuff. And I'm like, fuck. And then I get like 3 DMs in the same day of like, hey, I'm really interested in being on your podcast. Or like, and it's people who like, I'm like, oh, like, you got opinions. Like, you seem interesting. Cause I'm not gonna lie, there are duds out there that I'm like, all right, but what do you gotta say? Like, what can I get out of this?
Can you yap to us?
Yeah. And then we talk on the phone and crickets. And I'm like, all right, it's okay. Keep the momentum going. It's going to happen. But yeah, so I don't know, that felt good just now. Yeah. What would you tell your younger self when you've hit those moments where you're just kind of like hitting a wall and you're just like, you know, actually, let me ask this before that one. Have you ever had moments that you wanted to give up and wanted to just, you know, throw it all away and say like, maybe this isn't even worth it. Like, what was I thinking?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. Recently, I kind of just felt a point in my life where I'm just like, okay, so now what? You know, like, meaning like I kind of felt like I wanted to give up, you know, with the music, with the comedy. Like, again, like I just felt like there wasn't any movement going on with, you know, the things that I was crossing off my list, like my goals that I were accomplishing. and I was accomplishing these things, hence why I had said that prior just now. Like, there are things that are happening. You just got to just keep trusting the process. And for those who are creators out there, like, I'm telling you, this is not easy. Like, take it from me who, tries to keep it raw and authentic and as genuine and honest as possible. Like, I feel like I've always been honest with my audience, like, this shit is not easy, bruh. Like, this shit is not easy. And it all comes down to how bad do you want it? Like, there's someone out there waking up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., doing what you're doing 10 times better, but you can't sit here and try to compare yourself because it's your journey. There's no rule book, there's no how-to-do list on how to get things done on being an artist, being a content creator. Every content creator that has gotten there into where they are now, they've created their own journey and their own path. Don't try to compare your content to other people, even if you're a makeup artist.
Yeah.
Every makeup artist is different. They have their own niche. Everyone is different.
And they're all using the same product.
And they're all using the same product. It's up to you to figure out what it is that you love. Stop trying to figure out, like, what can I do that's going to make me go viral? Forget about going viral. Forget about all of that. You're going to make an impact by just being yourself. And I'm telling you this because that's how I got to where I am. Just trying to just being myself, not trying to be different. Just trying to be authentic and raw in myself, kind of like you with you in your podcast and Yib to my Yap. That is the most genius thing I have ever, and I mean ever, heard of before. So shout out to you.
Thanks.
But like, just being raw and authentic, I feel like that's just an amazing thing. And yeah, it's not easy, so just keep going, keep doing what you need to do, and if you need to take time for yourself, please do, because that is so important for your mental health and to keep sane, in a world where we live today.
No, and in the vein of advice, one thing I can say, because you mentioned like the niche thing, like finding your niche. You are the niche.
Yes.
Stop looking.
Yes.
Like, stop looking for like, people like this, people like that. Like, okay, but do you like it? Like, if you watched it, would you like that?
Right.
So then why would you want to be that? That's
exactly
a huge
well said.
thing. Like, I think that this is like a cliche thing that you hear when you're a kid, but like, oh, everyone's different. Everyone has their own unique qualities. And it's like, it's so fucking true.
Yeah.
Like this is such a random thing, but like, I have a little brother and he is Puerto Rican, Dominican, Polish, and Russian, and Jewish, 2 years back. Like, he's got a whole lot going on.
He a mixed boy.
But his skin color is darker than mine, and his last name is Lefkowitz. And the first thing that I thought when this kid was born is because, like, I was nearing, I was in middle school, but they were already talking to us about, like, college essays and stuff. So I was always thinking, like, what makes me different for me to use? And I was like, oh, my God, he has such an easy college essay to write. Like, my whole thing, I was like, oh, he could talk about his name. He could talk about being brown and all, like, and growing up, he's already had several instances where that's become an issue of all sorts. And, throughout his whole life, he's going to learn how to, like, navigate that and how to deal with it. But I think, like, little things like that, like if you grow up with those things, like to him at this point, it's like, oh, it's just my last name. Like, what's so special about it? Or like, what's so special about the experiences that, have come out of it, whether positive or negative? It's like, no, like those little things that are that unique to you are what's going to make you blow up, because no one else can do that. Like, no one else can be that. Like, there's a girl on Instagram, her name I think is like Scarface or Scar Girl or something. There's a few. One has a legit scar and the other one has a fake scar. There was a whole controversy there.
Interesting.
But, but with that being said, like, people are going to try to be you because of something that you got naturally.
Oh my God.
You want to set the tone for that oddly specific niche that only you can be. So, short answer.
So funny you say that. Yeah, literally, because I've had people, I've seen people create the similar content that I have created that follow me, and I'm just like,
wonder where you got that idea from.
Interesting. And like my friends like, girl, I'm like, honestly, I am honored.
Yeah, it's flattering.
I'm glad you can wake up and I can motivate you to do something similar, And it's just like, I don't sit here and be like, oh my God, like I'm repost, this girl's trying to, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, I remain true to myself. I'm still being me, and I don't care about any of that. And like, maybe with your brother, like as he gets older, he'll find, something that probably doesn't even have to do with, his nationality or him being brown or anything like that, or his skin tone or whatever, like that's how I, discovered, like the things that I like to do in my niche, as I got older. Like it wasn't because of my eyes and because my family's, darker than me and they're Dominican. Why am I the only light skinned one in the family? You know what I mean? Like I was just like, you know what, the hell with it. I don't really care. Like turns out I have an amazing personality. So that ended up being my niche, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And like now I just don't really care what social media has to say. And people obviously are going to say negative things about me. Like, you're so light skinned, you can't do this, or you can't say that, or you can't look like this. And why do you look like this? And why and this? And no, you're not Dominican. Like, okay, cool. So go tell my mother that. You know what? Go fight with my mother because she got a crazier mouth than me. So go ahead since you got so much to say. Like, ma, get them. And she be in the comments like, my daughter is, da-da-da, I love her so much. Ba, 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 ba. Like, I'm like, yeah, get her, girl.
Aw, no, that is so sweet. No, and so what you said just about like straight up being yourself, like when I made this page, when I made, the YouTube, the Instagram, all that, the way that I went about it was like, before Give to My App, like since Snapchat started, I would always post like Instagram stories and Snapchat stories of like me just talking. And a lot of times people would respond and they'd be like, yo, like I watched through this whole thing just because of how you told that story. Or like, you're so funny. Or even like the way you talk is interesting because I have friends who aren't from New York and they hear the New York accent. I'm like, where? But, like people watch for all these things that I'm not catching. And I'm like, okay, so like, yeah, fuck with me because I'm me. That's cool,
Yeah.
So then, I got the idea to like make this page and do the solo podcast and the ones with people. And I wanted it to be that people come to my page to hear my POV on things just because they like the way that, or not even like how I say things, but just want to hear my opinion because they already have a general gauge of the world the lens that I'm viewing the world from. And it's like when you go to certain pages and like when the earthquake happened in New York, some people were like, that wasn't even that serious or whatever. Yeah. And then other people were like, did you just fucking feel that shit?
I know this is going to sound crazy, but
No.
That sounds crazy.
Wait.
I want to feel I want something to shake me up a little bit. Be like, oh yeah, what you thought you was going, huh? Life is short.
Nah, when
God forbid.
The earthquake we had, it was April of 2024, just so that everybody knows what I'm talking about. I was sitting on my couch with my dog, and my brain, like I felt everything shaking, right? And like back when I lived with my grandmother, we had a kid upstairs who would just run up and down the hallway, and everything in the apartment would shake or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm not new. Like this isn't new to me, but I was like, wait, hold on, I'm living in my own apartment. What the fuck is happening? And I was like, no way, everything's shaking right now because it lasted, I think, like 22 seconds. So my dog is on my lap.
22 seconds?
Yeah.
Wow.
My dog is on my lap and he's sleeping. And like, I don't know, like I be having these like supernatural ideas of dogs that they could feel it before it gets here or some dumb shit.
Probably.
So I'm here thinking like, okay, if this is an earthquake, he's gonna like perk his head up and be like, whoa. Yo, he napped through the whole earthquake. I mean, not that it was an hour long or anything, but I'm like, yo, you don't feel that shit? And I remember I put my hand on his back and I was like, this is how I go. This is how I go. Like, I was so
We
ready.
out, brother.
Yeah, I was like,
nice knowing you.
If that's what's gonna happen, let it be with him. And then my phone started blowing up and everybody was like, did you feel that? Did you feel that? I was like, oh, okay.
Right. I'm not losing my mind. Yeah. Okay, I did feel something.
Had a moment, but yeah, that earthquake.
Both times that it happened, I didn't feel it.
Yeah, I didn't feel the aftershock. I was at the gym. My gym's in a basement, so I guess like we're too close to the ground to really like feel it. I thought it would have been the other way around.
Right. That's what I would have thought.
I'm no scientist, but oh yeah, such a
That's so interesting.
side note. Yeah. But we're on to our last little bonus question because I just wonder this because this is just me being nosy. What's the wildest DM that you've gotten on Instagram?
Oh my God. the DMs, they keep rolling into this day.
Really?
Yeah, it's just men. Just men being inappropriate, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I'm gonna keep yep.
Were any like notable and like enough for you to be like, all right, that one was okay?
I mean, I get like, I don't think it's weird, but people like, hey, I saw you in the club and you were wearing, I'm like, okay.
And they didn't say anything?
You could have said something.
That made it weird.
But like, it's like, I get it because like people are probably just like shy to be like, hey, you're Lui Nai, oh my God, you know what I mean? So I get it. But like, there's just no like silver lining. It's either that or.
Oh, damn. Or
just
the unsolicited.
Yep, just like, what's up?
All right.
Cool shirt. I'm like, thanks. Like,
So you're either creeps or
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
honestly.
Don't do that.
Please don't. Please leave me alone. Just comment on the music and the funny videos.
Yeah.
And I promise you.
This is super random. I just got a DM. I think what was it 2 days ago? I can't stand how like people perceive themselves sometimes. I like when people like my posts, like for engagement, engagement 101 for those of you who don't know, I'll like 3 posts of everyone who likes my posts,
same.
just for the sake of,
Showing
keeping them
love,
interested.
right.
Yeah, and they follow, yada, yada, yada. This little sciencey part. But there was a guy, he had only 4 posts on his page. He DMs me after. He's like, you gonna like all my posts and then not follow? Wow. Like, I wasn't trying to get at you, bro.
He could have had 1 post.
Yeah.
You like my post,
You like all my posts, all 1 of them. I was like, whoa.
Yo, it's hilarious.
I'm not feeling you. I don't care for you. My bad. I almost unliked it out of pettiness. I almost unliked all the posts. Like, you know what? Actually,
unliked it.
I'm gonna take them back.
Give my like back, brother.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's so freaking funny.
Yeah, but that's just my little ending story. But do you have any last words for those listening and watching?
For those listening and watching, I want to say, like I said before, we are dealing with some tough times in the world and trying to find our identity, trying to figure out what it is that we like and we don't like, being adamant about, the things that we want to do with our life. And like, I just want to let you know, slow down, take some time for yourself. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. I'm telling you this because I put a shit ton of pressure on myself all the time. And it's not easy going through those challenges. Just don't forget to stop and I guess smell the roses, as anyone would say. And yeah, just know that you're doing an amazing job and you are where you are today because of the work that you put in. And just be kind and gentle with yourself. And don't forget to, just breathe and relax. And you're doing an amazing, amazing job. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can't top that. So, love yourself, love those around you.
Yeah.
Just live, laugh, love. That's my go-to. Anybody ask how I'm doing? Live, laugh, loving.
Period.
So, yeah, do all that. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please leave comments. Please engage. Please do all that good stuff. I'm trying to be famous by like yesterday. So
Literally by yesterday. Please support.
Make sure to follow both of us, personal pages and podcast pages in the bio. I think that's all. So goodbye, and we will be seeing you next week. Bye.